Another day, another demonstration. Police in Kinshasa cracked down on a march protesting Emmanuel Macron as the French president visited the Democratic Republic of Congo, aiming to renew French ties. What happens when the public chooses a leader who genuinely represents them? Leaders like President Bassirou Diomaye Faye and Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko have boldly decided to end French dominance. This is expected when leaders aren't mere puppets. President Faye's decision to shut down all French military bases in Senegal has caught France off guard. Many of the protesters held up Russian flags, chanting anti-French sentiments. We marched against the French president because of his support for the Rwandan army. We don't want him in our country, but unfortunately, we were chased by the police. I fled, and other demonstrators were arrested. One protester shared, "Can anything be done now? Can France persuade Senegal to regain control? Let's find out." In a historic and unprecedented move, Senegal's President Bassirou Diomaye Faye announced the closure of all French military bases, marking a significant shift in the nation's post-colonial trajectory over 6 decades after independence. This decision represents a bold assertion of Senegal's sovereignty and a pivotal step towards strategic autonomy. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko's criticism of the continued French military presence has highlighted the country's aspirations for self-determination, resonating deeply with the Senegalese people. Now in West Africa, troops are being withdrawn from Mali after a 9-year mission, and other European countries are also leaving. So why is Senegal taking this decisive step now? The number of violent extremist attacks has been steadily increasing, and people expect that the French, with all their sophisticated military capacities, should address the situation. However, expectations have not been met. Closing French military bases is not merely a policy shift for Senegal. It is a declaration of intent for the nation's future. Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko's emphatic rhetoric on sovereignty and self-determination reverberates with the historical echoes of Senegal's struggle for true independence. This move is a poignant reminder of the nation's journey from colonial subjugation to the present quest for genuine autonomy. Sonko argues that true independence cannot coexist with foreign military forces occupying significant parts of the country, particularly in the capital, Dakar. This sentiment is echoed across the Sahel region, where countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have expelled French troops, seeking new alliances, notably with Russia, to combat insurgencies. This regional shift is driven by a collective desire to reclaim sovereignty and develop security strategies that align with national interests rather than external dictates. The relationship between Mali and France has been strained, particularly given Mali's refusal to comply with regional norms and principles to return to constitutional rule. Additionally, the emergence of the Wagner Group on the scene is unacceptable to the French, who are not prepared to coexist with these mercenaries. This strained relationship has been at the heart of recent developments, leading to the French decision to pull out. For Senegal, the decision to close French bases is driven by a complex interplay of political, cultural, and economic factors. Politically, it strengthens the government's position domestically by appealing to nationalist sentiments. Culturally, it aligns with broader resistance to Western influence on issues many Senegalese see as incompatible with their values and traditions. Economically, it opens the door to renegotiating key contracts and economic policies that are seen as disproportionately benefiting foreign powers. Prime Minister Sonko's vision for a more flexible currency arrangement and his plans to renegotiate oil and gas contracts underscore a commitment to economic self-reliance. By seeking to diversify its economic partnerships and reduce dependency on a single foreign power, Senegal aims to create a more resilient and autonomous economy. What broader trend in Africa does this show? Senegal's decision aligns with a broader regional trend in the Sahel, where countries like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger are expelling French troops and seeking alternative alliances, notably with Russia, to combat insurgencies. This regional shift is driven by a collective desire to reclaim sovereignty and develop tailored security strategies that resonate with national interests rather than external dictates. The backlash against perceived neo-colonialism is another critical factor. Across West Africa, there is growing resentment towards the remnants of colonial influence, which many see as hindering true independence. France's continued control over aspects such as defense and monetary policy is viewed by many as a legacy of colonialism that needs to be dismantled. This resentment has fueled a drive to reduce foreign military presence and take back control of national affairs. Economic considerations also play a crucial role. Many Sahelian countries are seeking to diversify their partnerships and alliances to better address their economic needs. By distancing themselves from France and exploring new alliances, these countries aim to reduce dependency on any single power and create a more balanced and resilient economic environment. In the case of Senegal, Prime Minister Sonko's plans to renegotiate oil and gas contracts and explore a more flexible currency arrangement are clear indicators of this economic strategy. How will this impact Africa and France relations?
And Goïta are keen on getting rid of the French, that they want to put an end to the French presence. They made the cooperation impossible very difficult between the French forces and works and by the current authorities. It makes the situation untenable. Having been an army of liberation, they are now considered as an army of occupation. They're accused of promoting the partition.
Therefore, I think they've actually approached their corner for a rapprochement with Russia. While it's not officially with Russia at the moment, let's not forget that when Senegal became independent in 1961, they were strongly backed by the Soviet Union. Some of their generals were trained by the Russian army, so they have close links with the Russian military. They may feel there's an attempt to shift alliances within Senegal, possibly influenced by Mali, and thus they felt unwelcome. The anti-French sentiment has been growing, fueled by social networks and current authorities, making the situation untenable. Having once been seen as an army of liberation, the French forces are now viewed as an occupying force accused of promoting the partition of the country. Senegal's bold move to close French military bases will have profound implications for both Africa and France. It not only redefines the bilateral relationship, but also signals a broader geopolitical shift in West Africa. This decision challenges France to rethink its long-standing military and diplomatic strategies, while paving the way for Senegal to bolster its national security and regional leadership. For Senegal, the closure of French military bases is a significant assertion of national sovereignty. This move will require Senegal to enhance its military capabilities to compensate for the absence of French support. This involves modernizing military infrastructure, improving training programs, and building a self-reliant defense force capable of addressing national security challenges independently. This decision also sends a powerful message to the international community, signaling that Senegal is willing to take bold steps to assert its sovereignty and make decisions that reflect its national interests. This move is likely to resonate with other African nations seeking greater independence and self-reliance. By setting this precedent, Senegal positions itself as a leader in the movement towards greater African sovereignty and self-determination. For France, Senegal's decision prompts a significant reassessment of its role in West Africa. France's military presence in the region has been a cornerstone of its foreign policy since the colonial era. The withdrawal of French troops from Senegal forces France to reevaluate its military and diplomatic strategies in the region. France is likely to adopt a multifaceted approach, engaging diplomatically with Senegalese officials to explore avenues for negotiation and reassess its strategic deployment in the region. Beyond immediate military considerations, France will likely engage in broader diplomatic efforts to reaffirm its commitment to regional stability and counterterrorism. Increased collaboration with regional organizations like the African Union, AU, and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, can bolster France's legitimacy and support for its military presence in the region. This reassessment may lead France to seek new forms of engagement that are more respectful of the sovereignty and independence of African nations. Now, the question is, how has the public reacted to this? It's a good question indeed because it highlights the reasons behind the anti-French sentiment. Many feel that France is playing a double game.
There's this anti-French feeling that France is playing a double game. Is the fact that France tries to promote the idea of democratic governments, imposes democratic conditions on governments it wants to help, while at the same time backing the coup in Chad when the President Déby he was killed, died, his son replaced him without an election and so on, and the French said amen to that. So
the announcement
by promoting democratic governments while supporting coups, like the one in Chad when President Devi was succeeded by his son without an election. The announcement to close French military bases has elicited a spectrum of reactions across Senegal. Many citizens, particularly the youth, celebrated it as a reclaiming of national pride. One student in Dakar stated, "This is the dawn of a new era for Senegal." Such sentiments underscore a generational shift towards assertive nationalism and independence. Academics and activists have also weighed in on the decision, providing a more analytical perspective on its implications. Scholars have discussed the broader impacts on Senegal's foreign policy and national identity, arguing that closing the bases is not just a political move but a significant step towards redefining Senegal's place in the world. This decision is seen as an assertion of national sovereignty and a rejection of neo-colonial influence. Human rights and political activists have highlighted the move as a victory for anti-colonial efforts and a push towards greater regional autonomy. They emphasize that the presence of foreign military bases has long been a point of contention and a symbol of lingering colonial influence. By closing these bases, Senegal is taking a stand for its sovereignty and sending a powerful message to other African nations. While the decision has been largely celebrated, it has also raised some concerns and challenges. Critics argue that Senegal must be prepared to address the security and economic implications of this move. Enhancing military capabilities and ensuring national security without foreign support will require significant investment and strategic planning. There are also concerns about the potential economic impact, particularly in terms of foreign investment and bilateral relations with France. Despite these challenges, many view the decision as an opportunity for growth and development. By investing in its own military and economic infrastructure, Senegal has the potential to become more self-reliant and resilient. This move could also foster greater regional cooperation and integration as Senegal seeks new partnerships and alliances within Africa. But to be safe, let's see what economic implications this decision will have. The economic implications of closing French military bases are multifaceted. Prime Minister Sonko's plans to renegotiate oil and gas contracts aim to ensure that Senegal benefits more directly from its natural resources.